We begin with breaking news from Ukraine, where Russia has launched a wave of missile attacks across the country. Cities, including Kyiv, were hit. These images we're about to see show air defences in the capital downing some of the missiles incoming. Officials in Ukraine say power facilities have been targeted and have announced emergency electricity cuts in Kyiv and in other regions. Right, for more, let's bring in DW correspondent Nimisha Jaiswal, who's in the Ukrainian capital. Nimisha, attacks right across the country, but what did you experience in Kyiv?
Well, Anthony, it was quite a loud morning here in Kyiv with explosions ringing out as the air defences worked here, as well as in Odessa, in Zaporizhia, in Dnipro, in Kyiv. Now, overnight air raid alerts thanks to drones are unfortunately common and nightly across the country, but this morning's alert was sounded because of overnight information that Tu-95s were taking off. These are strategic bombers, were taking off from Russia. But just to explain the scale of this attack, we had missiles coming in from occupied Crimea as well. We had Caliber cruise missiles coming in from the Black Sea, and we had hypersonic Kinjal missiles that are very dangerous coming in across the country as well. Now, we know that at least 2 people have been killed in Mykolaiv. More information is still pouring in, of course, and there were energy blackouts, emergency energy blackouts, as well as energy infrastructure being hit in the northwest and west in the areas of Volyn, Vinnytsia and Rivne. So quite a massive attack across the country.
Yeah, does this latest attack, Nimisha, follow the regular pattern, or is there something a little different about what Russia is throwing at Ukraine right now?
Well, missile attacks do occur in the east and in major cities like Zaporizhia and Odessa, Anthony, but over the last 2 months, we've seen a real ramping up of drone attacks and a reduction in missile attacks. And this was seen as a way, the drones were seen as a way to suss out what exactly air defenses were doing. And for weeks now, people have been, and analysts here, experts here, have been anticipating this kind of a major attack, missile attack across the country. And the targeting of energy infrastructure is something to look out for. This started in the spring already this year, but there are concerns that this is an effort to take out energy infrastructure before the third winter of the war here in Ukraine.
Stay with me, Nimisha. I've got one more question for you. After we hear from Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, saying yesterday he wants to end the war with Russia next year through diplomacy. Let's take a listen.
From our side, we must do everything so that this war ends next year, ends through diplomatic means. I think Putin doesn't want peace at all. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't want to sit down and talk to world leaders. Why? For him, it would destroy the political isolation that's built up since the beginning of the invasion.
Right, so Zelensky says Kyiv must try and end the war through diplomacy, and he also flagged a meeting with Trump. Suddenly a lot happening on the diplomatic front, it seems.
Well, absolutely. But I think it's important to point out that when Zelensky talks about diplomatic means, he's not a fan of negotiating with Russia. Just last week, he was at a meeting in Budapest with EU leaders saying this is not a time to hug Putin. Some of you have been hugging Putin for the last 20 years, and look where that has brought you. And we also had the foreign minister this morning in response to the attacks saying that this is Russia's true response to diplomatic efforts and the end of their isolation, taking a swipe at German Chancellor Olaf Scholz getting on a phone call with Putin that was roundly criticized here. So even while Zelensky is doubling down on also showing that there's communication with the Trump camp, that there's a need to cooperate. 2 days ago, he said he believes that Trump will end the war faster than Biden could have. But there's a real hope here that this would not be through the capitulation of Kyiv, which is the fear. And there's a hope that if Putin refuses to negotiate, Trump would throw caution to the wind, arm Ukraine to the teeth and end the war on Kyiv's terms. But as we've all been anticipating here, this may be wishful thinking. This may work out in Kyiv's favor. And that's why they're watching so closely and trying to keep in touch with the Trump camp. No details about that meeting have emerged yet, though.
DW's Nimisha Jaiswal in the Ukrainian capital. Thank you.